We on the podcast, baby.
Club Talk. Jay Brody. Yeah, baby, it's that Club Talk. Yeah, baby, it's that Club Talk. You're now listening to that Club Talk. And now, your host, Jay Brody. 1, 2, 1, 2, ha!
All right, and we are back with another episode of Cloth Talk Podcast. Before we get to today's episode, as always, like, subscribe, follow, rate, drop a comment, share this with your friends. If you are watching on YouTube, go ahead, leave a comment and hit that notification bell. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or any other podcast app, go ahead and subscribe. Give me a 5-star rating so you can help your boy move up in the rankings. So I greatly appreciate that. All right, so today's episode, I'm really excited about because this is something that, for me, that I need to talk about to get some knowledge, because as a man, we don't really talk about this amongst ourselves. My guest today is Diona Clark, by way of dating.
Yay!
So I met you. We were at the same event and we were on the same bill together. Shout out to Andrew out there with Locomotive Media Entertainment. We were out there on his panel together, and I was listening to your story. You went before me, and we had like 10 minutes.
Right.
So it was just quick, but in that 10 minutes, I was just listening to your story, and I was like, I gotta have her on. I need to have her on. So after you were done, I approached you, introduced myself to you. Was like, hey, I want you to, come on my podcast. He's like, sure, let's do it. So we exchanged informations, and here we are. So it's a Saturday. Thank you for giving up your weekend.
No
I'm
problem.
pretty sure you'd rather be at home on the weekend.
The Bucks are playing.
That's right. You're a Buckeye fan.
Yes.
Oh man, now I feel bad. But I wanted to talk to you about a lot of stuff. For those who probably aren't familiar with your story, you are a survivor of domestic violence and gun violence.
Yes.
So I kind of wanted to slow walk this whole thing. Like I said, this is for me too, just to sit down and talk with you about this, because there's a lot, like I said, I don't know about, that, because I'm not a woman and I haven't experienced that. So I just kind of want to pick your brain about that, that your journey, your story. I want to talk about your book, which I got a signed copy today, y'all. Make sure y'all pick it up. Your nonprofit and all that stuff, that you're involved in. So let's start from the beginning, with this story. So as far as I know, like when you were in that short 10-minute, you said that you met this guy and he wasn't one of the cleanliest fellas. I guess he was in that street life element, and I just wanted to, what attracted you to him initially?
His physical appearance.
Okay.
So I always tell
attractive
my story.
gentleman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. There was an attraction from him that I like, and finding out that he also was attracted to me, that's all we needed. It's
a standard story. Is how it happens. Hey, I find you attractive. You find you attractive too.
And then on top of that, I was raised in a single parent home. So my mom did the best that she could, but we knew Kmart, we knew Hills, we knew those stores where, our clothes may be, $5 on sale. But, for him, he had the money to buy me the Burberry, the Prada, the Gucci, shoes, purse, jewelry, cologne, top of the line things. And so I was fascinated by that.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Mostly, especially if that's something that you never had before.
Right.
For women too, that's like, oh, he cashing out. Let's go.
If you spending, I'm staying.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I assume like most relationships is good. Y'all having a good time. Everything is going good. And you were saying when you were speaking up there, like you didn't, the signs were there, but you said that you just ignored them. Like you really didn't know what you were dealing with or was in at that time. What was some of the things that like he was doing that you know that you probably didn't like just kind of brush it off? What was the type of things he would do?
So like in the beginning of our relationship, the first thing that he did that was a sign was he asked to see my phone when I came when I visited with him, and he looked at my phone and then he looked at me and said, well, when you come back to visit me, you need to have all male contacts out of your phone.
Damn.
And right, exactly. So it threw me off. It didn't feel good at all, what he had said to me. And it was like I pondered on it for like maybe a day. Yeah. And I called him back and I told him, because I was in here in Columbus. Okay. So I went back to Dayton. And so
you guys didn't live together?
No, we didn't live together. No, not here at this point of us meeting.
Sure.
And so when I got back home, I called him and said, we can't do this. We can't, I didn't like the way that you made me feel by asking me to get all male contacts on my phone, and we haven't even been dating that long.
Oh, so at that point he asked you to do that. How long were y'all seeing each other at that point? Like, you need to get rid of all those contacts. I don't like this.
I would have to say at least 2 months in a relationship. 2
months in?
2 months, and you don't even know anybody in 2 months.
All right, that's still a honeymoon stage.
Thank you. Exactly. I'm thinking you still into us date, going out to eat, going to the movies, or going to the store and things like that, just enjoying each other. Not you need to cut everybody out of your life.
Yeah. Being that he was involved in that street life, did you hear about like rumblings of any of his like past relationships? Like, did people kind of like, that dude, I don't, we know about this guy. We, be careful with this dude.
So I in the beginning of our relationship I didn't, but it was kind of like towards the middle. I did hear that.
Things.
Yeah. He was still married.
Oh
yeah,
shit.
He was still married. Exactly. I mean, we keeping it all the way real. Nothing's off limits. So
right.
He was still married, and
jeez,
that he did at one time hit his wife.
So he had a whole family.
They had a whole family. Had a whole family that rolled up on us out to eat one day, and before they even walked in, he left. Like, I was just like, what? Why did you just jump up? He was like, I gotta go. You just pay for the meal, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But then, as I was walking out, his family was checking in, and I heard his last name. I said, wait, and I was like, wait a minute now, wait a minute,
whoa,
wait a minute. But the thing I always say is, I had these signs before me, but I chose to put on my blinders and move forward in the relationship.
Even finding that out, you still stuck there?
I still did. And what I like to say there is that at that time, at that place, and at that position of my life, I didn't think highly of myself. Really? I didn't see myself as the queen that I am.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Like, for you, like at that time, you said you didn't. Did you not like see the value in yourself? Did you not think you're beautiful, or what was that low self-esteem? Where did that come from for you?
I feel like, my dad, I don't blame anything on my father, because I'm old enough now to realize that, we're grown.
Yeah.
And so we take accountability for things, and we learn, we grow from that, and we move forward. But like I said, we were raised mainly in a single parent home. So my father wasn't there to give me that, the dating experience with the man. How should the opposite sex make me feel, or how I should feel in the presence of the opposite sex, what boundaries to set with the man, and things of that nature. So when a man did come into my life and he gave me these things that I never had, I was gone like that. I was head over heels, and didn't know how to set those boundaries in place, and didn't get the when I did get the red flag, say, hey, you know what, this is the gut feeling that your father had told you about, or this is a feeling that's opposing what how your dad made you feel, so you need to bounce up and get out of it. Instead, right. I just went through it.
Did you think that, like, if I stay, it may change and make it better, he may leave his wife? Or did you think that, or you just like, I'm just gonna stick in here? Or did you think like he'll probably leave his wife, or he's probably not happy with her?
Yep.
Or
those were definitely thoughts that, eventually, because they were separated. So if you're set to me at that point, if they're separated, then the divorce has to come.
Yeah, it's
after
coming
that.
eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, just being with him, things are going to change or things are going to get better.
Telling you all this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm leaving, I'm divorcing, just kind of blowing my head up.
Buttering you up.
Right, exactly.
Jeez. So back to the telling you to him telling you to take all the male contacts out your phone. Did you end up doing that? You're like, okay, I'll do it just so he'll feel comfortable.
Exactly. I did it because I didn't want to have to go through that conflict and that controversy.
Like, it's not worth it.
Exactly. And he apologized. Like, the thing is, when I told him that I didn't like him going through my phone, he apologized, said he would never do it again. And that's when he promised that the next time if I came up, that he would take me on a shopping spree, which he did follow through on his promise. Like I said, that's when I always say that's when I chose to put on my blinders and move forward in the relationship.
Yeah. Did you ever think to yourself, like, what in the hell am I doing? Like, I know better than this. I need to get out of this.
I think I felt that towards the end of the relationship because at that, I always explained it, I was on autopilot. Like, he had tore my self-esteem up so much that I felt right. Yeah. It was always, me comparing me to other women, especially the women on the videos. This is what you need to look like, or, your clothes look a certain way and things of that nature. So my self-esteem, it definitely, it wasn't there at that time. And,
so he came in your life and like kind of like filled the void for you that you was probably yearning for or missing. He just made you feel worthy in that way.
Yes, he did come and fill. He did fill the void, but even in filling that void, I felt like it was manipulative because at the time, again, I was just in a low place, and so it was easy for him to manipulate me, and then also to just like isolate me from those who mattered the most.
Yeah, was he older than you? Like, was he? It sounds like this guy. He sounds like he got a little experience under his belt with this. Like, he sounds like an expert.
Absolutely,
like he know how to navigate this, how to move. Wow. So in total, how long were y'all together?
This is the shocker. This is what shocks people.
Oh,
so we were together for a year, maybe coming on a year. Yeah, we were together for probably about a year, I would say.
About a year.
Yeah.
Wow, most people probably would hear this story like, well, they clearly was together for a long time.
No, but this again is it's
like it happens so fast,
and
too.
it can, like, I feel like if you're that gullible, if your self-esteem is not there, it's easier for a person to come in and prey on you. First of all, when they're learning you, they're watching you and they're seeing how you move and how you operate, so they know when to go in for the kill and just how to attack. And it can happen real quick. Some people think like, oh, that'll never be me. That'll never happen to me. But it will happen so quick because these people that do it, they know what they're doing, and they know what tactics to do in order to get you in that position. So it was definitely a short span of time that all this took place.
Right. So up into the event where, unfortunately he decided to shoot you not only once, twice, point blank range, which we'll talk about a little later. Was it progressively getting worse, or was that just an event where everything just went haywire and he just, blacked out and just did it, or, obviously decided to do it? Was it events that got worse and worse and worse?
Yeah, we did our arguments. One thing is he would always, his thing was drinking. So he was drinking maybe like 3 glasses of liquor every night. Like, this wasn't just, on the weekends and things like that. This was every night. And he quit his job because he wanted to spend more time with me. And I'm like, we struggling. I'm the only one bringing in income, and we got all these bills coming in. He eventually gets another job and still had some type of manipulative tactic behind that, because I'm working first shift, he's working second shift, but made me pick him up from work, and I'm like, how am I gonna do that? And I'm like, but still, it was that's just how caught up, or on autopilot that I was. And another thing I remember is going home on Thanksgiving and him saying, when I get through with Diona, this was in front of my family. Once I get through with Diona, she gonna be better than all of y'all. And I heard what he said. My family, they heard what he said. And so, that was, I would say that's when I realized he no longer looked at me as a person or a human being, but as an object.
Yeah. So,
and then
it's like a project for him, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Watch what I can do with her.
Right. Right. I'm not human. So that means my emotions is out the door. My opinion is out the door. I'm just someone operating based off of what you command me to do.
So it became a sort of like a dictator relationship.
Yes, pretty much.
God,
pretty
damn.
much it did. I think one of the incidents too that sticks out with me is because you talked about it getting more intense. Was one night I went out with one of his family members and told him who I was going with. He wanted to make sure that I was dressed a certain way, where I told him where I was going, and coming back that night and opening up the door to a dark room and him sitting in that living room with a bottle of liquor.
That's like some movie scene shit.
Crazy. It was crazy. And that was it for me. That was the part where I was like, oh, I think it's time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, I'm just trying to like look at it from a perspective from this guy, what is going on in his life to be like this? Because they always say hurt people. So I imagine he had to come from some type of background where this is like normal shit to him. This is how my pop treated my mom, so forth and so on, and he just think that shit is normal. So this is how you got to make your woman respect you. This is how you control. It's just weird that kind of thinking is normalized. Man, so fast forward to the unfortunate event. So walk us through that day, and I'm pretty sure do you ever get tired of telling this story? Because you've been talking, I mean, you talk about this, speaking engagements, you get interviewed constantly, you have a book, nonprofit, and I'm pretty sure people ask you all the time, so what happened? What is it like? Are you getting shot and all this stuff? It's like, I'm tired of talking about this. Do you ever be like, okay, I gotta go explain it again. Now I gotta go relive this day.
I would say in a period of me not being completely healed, I was tired of talking about it.
Yeah.
However, when I went through the counseling and things that I needed and began to heal and started to stand on my story instead of standing in my story, that's when my story became more effective, and I was able to, and I discovered that through my sharing of my story, I was able to touch so many people, not just here in Columbus, not just here in Ohio, but all across the world, that domestic violence is something that's real and is plaguing our community, our state, and our nation.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the day. Do you remember, because there's certain events like that happen to people where they remember the date, the time, what they was wearing. They remember everything. Do you remember all that?
I remember all that. I remember the smells and everything.
Well, walk us through this day. So take us to the beginning of the day. How was the day? How did it start? Was like your normal routine? You got up, you take a shower, get ready for work, all that stuff. Like, take us through that whole day.
So, and this is the point where because we were staying together, so I moved out.
So at that point, y'all were living together, but you had left because it gotten so bad.
Right. That night where we was in a dark room, I said it's time to go.
So you bounced at that time.
I did. I left, and
was that hard to do?
No, it wasn't hard to do, simply because I have realized I wasn't raised like this.
Yeah.
Like being on autopilot on somebody else's go, and
this shit is not natural.
No, none whatsoever. Yeah. And just having your family members, me and my sisters, we have a close bond, and so when they came to me like, you changing, you different, and I'm lying like, oh no, everything's okay, I'm good, da da da. But I knew for your family members to come to you, ones that you trust and you can confide in, and you grew up with them, they come to you, they know you.
Yeah, they know you more than anything.
Exactly.
Like, Diona ain't the same.
No.
Like something going on. Wow.
No, not at all. Not at all. No. Yes. No.
It's you know what? It's always, and y'all can't hear. Her sister is here. She was telling us that when you bring like the person like you're dating around your family, your family members can pick up that shit and see like, no, it's something about this motherfucker that we don't like, and they can pick it up, but you won't see it. It's like, what are y'all talking about? Like, I love him. He's cool. Like, no, it's something about this guy's energy. Man,
and he gave off all of that. Like what she was saying was, when I decided to relocate from Dayton to Columbus, my mom brought the two matriarchs of her side of the family to my home and was like, stop her from going. And I'm like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, I'm a grown woman. Yeah. You know, and they're like, listen to your mom. She doesn't want you to leave, this, that, and the other. But one of my cousins looked at me and he just told my mom, like, she gone. Like, she done. She in too deep. She in too deep. And then my dad, he's so cool, quiet, laid back. He don't say much. But when I got back to Columbus after going to his house on Thanksgiving, he called me and was like, "What's up? You okay?" You know, so they knew they had that parent intuition, like, this is not the right guy for my daughter. Yeah,
but you, like you said, you had those blinders on.
I had my blinders on, like, I don't see nothing, like a horse. You know, the horse had those blinders on, so they don't see nothing to the right or the left. All I saw was him.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, so wow. So going back to that day. Yes. So go ahead and take us through that day. Like from, the beginning of your day.
So the thing is, as a matter of fact, I had went to church, and before I went to church for a Bible study, he called me and said, "Can I get the dishes that I let you borrow?" And so I said, "Sure, you can come once I get home from church." And when I got to my apartment building, I noticed that he was in the parking lot. And so
he's waiting on you.
So he's waiting on me.
This guy.
Yeah. He's waiting on me. So I get out of my car and I go over to his car, and I can already tell that he's drunk. I smell the liquor reaping from him, and he's just kind of like in the daze a little bit. So I said, well, when you get yourself together, just come on in the house. And so I'm in my apartment, getting things settled from the day and getting prepared for the next day. And he comes in and he has a lunch bag, and I'm thinking to myself, like, why does he have a lunch bag? Because he didn't work. So this is like the lunch bag you bring to work. And so he goes upstairs, comes back down, and starts to argue. And my thing to him was, you're not gonna argue here at my house. I did all of that when we were living together, so we're not gonna bring that here. Right. No. And so he was like, you don't. He was like, I don't like what you said to me on the phone the night before, which I told him that I wasn't happy with him, and I thought that it would be good for us to be at a distance. And so he said, you don't care about me. And the thing too is, a lot of times I'll mention this, but he proposed to me before in that transit. Well, when I had moved out, like, this probably was like about a couple of days after I moved out, he proposed to me, and I told him no. I told him no. I said, no, I can't do it. Not at all. And so, we had that conversation on the phone, and I was just like, I love you from a distance, and in that I'm not happy like you made me happy in the beginning. And so he was like, I could go out here and blow my head off. You wouldn't care. I was like, I would care. I do still care for you. And so he reached in front of his pants and he pulled out the gun. And when he pulled out the gun, I ran out the door. But he ran after me and bear hugged me, dragged me back into my home.
Is this daytime or nighttime?
This is nighttime.
Okay.
This is nighttime. He pinned himself up against the door so that I couldn't get out. So I'm screaming and I'm crying, and I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs, because the thought that went through my head was, this is my last night existing on this earth. And so as I'm screaming, he's telling me to shut up and be quiet, because if he got caught with the gun, he was going to jail. And in my mind, I'm like, I want you to go to jail, nigga, because you know what I'm saying, you got this gun, And so he was like, do you think this gun is for me? I'm like, yeah. No, he said, do you think this gun is for you? I said, yes, I believe you're gonna shoot me. He said, no, I'm not gonna shoot you. He was like, I want to take my own life. He said, I'm tired of living the way that I'm living. And like you said before, he was a big drug dealer. Right. And so at this point, he's not making that money anymore, and now he's going through this separation with his wife and maybe some things with the kids or whatnot. Now I'm saying I gotta leave. What I think, from what I've learned about him was, he quits the women. The women don't quit him. And so for me to say I gotta leave, this is something that he's just not used to.
Everything got to be on his time.
Exactly.
And once you said he wasn't used to that.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he tells me to be quiet. So eventually I calm down, and in my calmness, I'm still screaming inside, but I'm calm.
How do you
I'm calm. Like, I can't. When I think about it, I'm just like, how in the world were you calm? I calm to the point where I was like telling him, you don't want to do this. You don't want to kill yourself. You got so much to live for. And then I'm talking to him like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And so he's telling me he's tired of, again, living the way that he's living. Tell his parents that he want to be buried in this outfit. Tell his kids that he loves them. And so I'm like, well, if you're going to do that, can you just let me go? He said, no. He said, Diona, I want you to see what you're doing to me by leaving me. And that's a form of manipulation, And so I was like, I don't want to see. It's like, I just want to leave. If this is what you're going to do, I want to leave. And so we went back and forth for about an hour and a half. Damn. And it was like this part felt like almost 5 hours to me.
Right.
But he eventually let up off the door. And when he let up off the door, to me, I'm like, it's my time to go. Because if he gonna do this, let him do it on his own. And so when I went to go reach for the door, that's when he raised the gun up and he pointed at me and he shot me twice at point blank range. The first bullet entered into my I mean, when I think that's what make me, whenever I think about my story, the part that makes me go like, damn, like, it's that part from hearing the trigger being pulled and the bullet being released from the gun and impact and actually making an impact in me. Damn. That's what get me to be like, I can't believe you went through that.
Yeah.
And so that first bullet, it went through my chest area. It missed my heart by an inch. It exited out my body, and then he went to again raise the gun up towards my head. And so my first reaction was to raise my hand to protect my head. And so that bullet went through my wrist and it shattered my wrist. To this day, I still have trouble with my hand.
It's like a permanent nerve damage or
exactly. Ooh. The heat of the bullet had did nerve damage, and so I had to have micro hand surgery to repair what they could repair of those nerves. So like my index finger and my thumb finger, they have like a constant tingling feeling, like if you fell asleep on like your arm or something like that, and you got the tingling feeling. So that's what those two fingers feel like. But it's so much a part of me that it's my war room, and I'm okay with that because it reminds me that I am a survivor, and if I survived it, then I know that there's other people that can survive too. And will.
Wow, man. So, like I said, this is like educational for me because I've came up, seeing my single mother, my mom. She's a single mother. I really didn't see her go through a lot of stuff, but because she kept it away from me with my father. And as I got older, she would tell me stories about the things my dad did to her. And she was like, I didn't want y'all to see that. She said, like, I was so little, she would like take me and hide me when he would come in, and he would like beat her and stuff, and like they would like argue, and it was like real bad. But man, that's woo-wee. So I'm sure when you said you heard him pull that trigger and you heard the bullet ejecting, hit your body, you probably thought you was out of here. You thought it was over, huh?
Yeah, I did. I'm like I said, but the weird, honest to God, the first thought that came to my mind, I kid you not, because when he did that, I ran. And as I was running, the first thought was I did not want my mom to see me in a casket. And it still get me to this day. Like, I was like, I don't want my mom to see me. Like, I visioned myself in a casket. And then the thought came, like, I don't want my mom to see me in a casket.
So that's true. And they said your life literally flashed before your eyes.
Yep.
God damn.
Yep. And I ran to get help, and it was so weird because I lived in a neighborhood where people were walking dogs at night and things of that nature, but nobody was out this night. And I'm knocking on everybody's door, and nobody came.
God damn.
And so I was just like, forget it. I'll go out to the main street, and if I pass out, somebody will see me. But a guy did eventually answer his door, and so I was just like, can you call 911? I've been shot. Yeah, it's crazy. And you know what's really crazy is I just recently got the pictures back from the crime scene.
Oh,
and when I say it's ill, It's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
So when because you say you remember a lot of the details of the day. When did this happen? What year? What day? Month?
This happened on September the 21st, 2005, about 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
I remember the black t-shirt with the side pocket I had on, the Tommy jeans, the Nike Air Max that I had on, a black belt. I remember all of that. How my hair was. I remember all of it.
Yeah. So what let's fast forward. What ended up happening to this guy? Because he said, yo, this is not for you. I'm talking about taking my own life. But you threatening to leave, obviously he couldn't deal with that. And on top of that, the man is intoxicated. He's not thinking clearly. He's enraged. And you threatening to leave, he couldn't deal with that. So it's either you or him. If I can't have you, nobody can't have you. Right. Seem like type of thing. So he tried to take your life. When you got away, what ended up happening with him?
So when I was in the hospital, I later learned that he turned the gun on himself after he shot me, and he shot himself in the head, but he survived. Thank God.
So he tried to kill himself and survive.
He tried to kill himself. I mean, like, how do you try to take the role of God and try to kill somebody else and yourself and both? You fell miserably. Like,
yeah, this guy's the best.
Yeah, exactly. And then now, he's confined to a wheelchair. He's paralyzed, like partially paralyzed. Wow. And so it's like you did this to yourself. Yeah. It wasn't worth it.
Man, this is a good time to take a break. Let them know before we take a break. Let them know where they can get your book, your nonprofit, all that stuff before we go to a break.
Definitely. So I can be reached at on social media by my name, Diona Clark. So DIONA CLARK. And then also on Instagram at Diona Live Out Loud. So it's Diona, DIONA LIVOUTLOUD. And you can find me by that same at Diona Live Out Loud on Twitter as well. And then they can get a copy of my book on Amazon or my website at www.liveoutloud4you. So that's LIVOUTLOUD, the number 4, the letter U.org.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make sure I put a link in the description of this episode so y'all can just click it. Definitely. And y'all can just get to it easy if y'all can't spell. We got a lot more to talk about with Diona Clark. Stay right here on Clark Talk Podcast. Don't go nowhere.
Go. I see no limits, you give me them lemons and I made that lemonade out of it. Kill every nigga that doubted you. Feel every syllable, drilling your mental like bitches the principal. You look defensive, this niggas invisible, probably invisible. How do you miserable niggas that write this shit down and you still suck? I got so much anger built up, I don't feel stuff. I catch you snooping, dog, and I step all on your building and I kill stuff. Nigga, I feel such disrespect, the disconnect of the cognitive dissonance. I log and I watch this constant, persistent nonsense of niggas I conquered. Their confidence isn't accomplished. I compliment this shit armed with a ridiculous arsenal. Also an arson, I'm awesome, the ultimate. I went off in this bitch, y'all finna witness the go take.
And now for the
That my man, Hercules. That my man, Hercules. Cause I let him count the spinach and he smoke his purple leaf. Tell these bitches I'll adopt them, just hop off my ovaries. I'm a vegan, but please have my eggs over easy. Ooh, he said I got spectacular cat. Cause I just let him eat the box and he start rapping like that. I put this venom in him, then I blend it in the center. Let him eat the cinnamon, twist like it's cinnamon. And then I'm finna ride his dick just like a dirt bike. Bend it over, pop a willy in it, pop a really in it. Fuck a milli rock, pop a milli in it. Mama silly with it. I'm like hot butter beans, come and get it, my nigga. Turn that motorsport, motor both these titties, my nigga. Pussy reserved for the go because you really my nigga.
All right, we are back right here on Cloth Talk Podcast. Diona Clark is here. Make sure you visit the website, grab the book, support the organization. We're going to talk more about that in depth. So where we left off at break, you've told us a story about, that day where it happened. So, I imagine after that, I was curious to know, after having that situation, I imagine you probably looked at men in relationships completely different. Was it hard for you to have relationships after that with men? Did your trust for men kind of go down? Did you what, I'm completely done with men, or I'm done with relationships? Was that a struggle to kind of start dating again and trust men, or how was that that process?
So it wasn't a struggle to actually like do the interaction between the opposite sex, but it was definitely more so a struggle with trusting them. I remember there was a guy that we were just talking. We weren't even really dating. We were just talking, but I did go over to his house and he told me he had a gun. I left. I'm not gonna. I left.
He didn't even give him a
I
chance.
left.
Like, wait, it's for protection. Goddamn, where you going?
I left.
I don't do guns, sweetie.
I totally did. I left because just the thought or the sight of guns, it gave me the tremors. And then not only that, like I couldn't even be rational in my mind to even process, he has a gun for people that may, be an intruder on his own property. I couldn't even rationalize that. All I thought was he's gonna use that gun for me. I left. I left. Yeah, I
like,
did.
It was just a protection. I'm not trying to be like, I can't even give you that chance.
Yes, it was definitely again, I just had to be healed from all of that. From experiencing the trauma that I did, because the thing about it is that experience will always, anybody that experiences trauma, it will always be with you. But the thing about it is learning how to cope with the trauma that you have so that you can continue to function in society as the normal human being.
Yeah, let's talk about that, like the healing process and the coping with it. So how was your journey for that? Healing from that experience.
The beginning was real dark. Like it was dark. I felt like, again, I was at a low point. And it took my mother to actually identify me as being depressed, where I thought, me, after experiencing that, being in my room, reading these inspirational books was okay, because there was clearly, to me, something wrong with me for me to get into this relationship. So now I got to figure out what was it that I was doing, or what was my thinking pattern that allowed me to go into this relationship. So what I did was, after that incident, I just stayed in my room and I read a whole bunch of different books. And so my mom was like, you need to go see a counselor. And the tripped out part was when I went to go see that counselor, I regurgitated everything that I had read. And she said to me, you know what? You seem like you got everything healthy, compartmentalized mentally. So you come to me as needed basis. And I never went back to her again, because for me to get advice from a professional saying that it sounded like I was okay, guess what? That meant that I was okay.
Yeah. Like, okay. Yep. The doctor said I'm good, so she said come back if I need. I don't think I need to, so nope. I'm good.
I didn't return back. But when I became a social worker and I started to work with those families that had encountered domestic violence, and that some of the things that I went through, it began to be a trigger. And my supervisor, she saw the difference in between my performance with certain cases versus those that were domestic violence involved cases. And she pulled me in her office and said, what's going on? And so I told her what had happened to me, and she was like, well, we get counseling for free, so you need to go on ahead and see a counselor. And so I did the first counselor, because again, going back, I was diagnosed with anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety. Okay. And so with anxiety, if anybody has anxiety, or so they would know that you have these racing thoughts that continue to go on in your mind, and it's like you can't get these thoughts to cut off. And so it goes into your sleep, it goes into your work performance, or even sometimes your relationship. And I was diagnosed with that, and so I there was a time where, because I couldn't cut my thoughts off, I felt like suicide was the best thing.
Really?
Absolutely. Jeez. Absolutely. To get these thoughts to stop, because
so
they
you
were
would contemplate taking yourself out.
Absolutely. I was at a bridge, and I said, if I jump, it'll all be over. Like, this will be gone. Like, I don't even have to worry about not sleeping, or I don't have to worry about being afraid, because after that incident, it made me become so fearful of life and just the possibility of danger happening in the future. Something bad is going to happen. Those were the thoughts that I lived with daily, which, again, like I said, it interfered in my relationships and my work performance. Even in driving, I feared that I would get into an accident.
So your day-to-day life was just
horrible. It was crazy. It was crazy. And still I had to put on this face like I was straight, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't at all.
Damn.
No.
So what do you think, just hearing this, what contributes to, because I'm just thinking about, when you said you had those blinders up, early on in the stages of the relationship, when people were telling you, like, everyone sees the signs but the person who's in it. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, and I know all women are not the same, but where do you think that part comes from, where something that may be so obvious that you turn a blind eye to it? Is a weird question, but I'm like struggling trying to like understand that position. Like,
I think it comes from, one, you don't want to be embarrassed. Like, you know that this is an effed up situation, but you don't want to come out and admit and look crazy or look stupid. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. You don't want the embarrassment, the shame, and things of that nature. Yeah. Then I think a lot of
told you so.
Right, exactly. Thank God my mom wasn't like that, but that was a thought. Like, man, my mom might be like, I told you so, but she never did do that. Another thing too with women, like, we are so in love with hope. And what I mean by that is we're in love with the hope of he's going to change. We're in love with the hope that he's going to be different. We're in love with the hope that he will be. And we can't do that because holding on to hope is what's making us lose ourselves, and at the end of the day, lose our lives.
Yeah, that's weird. Did you ever like blame yourself? Like, this is my fault. Like,
absolutely.
All that, like, that put the blame on you. Like, what happened is because of me.
Absolutely. It was easy for me to forgive him. Because I love God.
After all that, you forgave him?
I forgave him. I love God, and I know that the best way to move on is forgiving others. And so
a lot of people like, fuck that shit.
Right, exactly.
Fuck forgiveness.
Right.
I hope you burn in hell.
Right. Well, some of my family members were saying that. Like they was like, let's pull the cord. Let's pull the cord on it. Let's take them out.
A lot of people ain't trying to hear that forgiveness shit. Like, he got to go.
No, not at all. Not at all. Forgiveness is something I talk about in my book. It's actually the last chapter that I have, because I feel like forgiveness is one of those things that, especially for ourselves, it's something that we don't do often, and that's what keeps us caught up in the trauma when we don't forgive ourselves. So, and not forgiving ourselves don't allow us to be able to release the pain and release that position that we were in at one point in life where we experienced, whether it be trauma or loss or anything like that. But when we forgive ourselves, then we can move out of that and be able to begin to live the life that, God has set up for us.
Yeah. Wow. So you said right now he's paralyzed. What, like, have you like seen him like since, like, have come across him?
Yeah,
or
I've seen him.
Really?
Yeah, I seen him.
What was that like?
So in my
ran at him and attacked him immediately.
No, it wasn't. It was weird. Like, it was weird. I think I'm different. I did because what the crazy thing was, I went to go see him in the nursing home.
So you decided to? I
decided to go see him in the nursing home.
People will ask why.
Why? Because the thing about this, now, this is
you want to see him for?
And I know, and
motherfucker try to kill you, girl.
Right. You're right. What are you doing? Why? What are you doing? And I think that was a part of that was the beginning of my healing, when I went back to see him and to actually. Now, I will say it was very frightful, very, very, very frightful. To see someone who you laid next to that said they love you and proposed. They proposed, and now you taking lives. So that don't even equal up. Yeah. But I went, and I was scared. But if anybody knows anything about domestic violence, even after the act of violence, that victim is still in this stage of, it's gonna be okay. I still love him.
Oh.
And this is a piece why most women, and I say women, but it can't happen to men. They don't leave as quickly as somebody who's not in it think they should. Yeah. Because they still think I love him, because it's the act that you want to stop, not the person you want. It's the act that you want to stop. So I went to go see him and told him what happened. I told him what happened, and
wow.
The next time I saw him, it was in court.
In court? What was the court for? The incident?
So yeah, which it took
okay.
about 15 years for justice to
God
take.
damn.
Right, exactly. Right.
Let's rewind. What?
Right.
15 years.
So after I was shot, the detective that was working on my case, I met with him, and he told me that the state would pick up the charges. Now keep in mind, this is my first time being shot. This is my first time dealing with the law. So when the law tells me that they're going to take care of it, then I'm thinking the law is going to take care of it. All I know is I was so glad to be out of that relationship.
Yeah.
I was so glad.
You
to
left
be
it in
out
the
of
law's
it.
hands.
I left it in the law's hands, and leaving it in the law's hands, what ended up happening was they put my case in a desk and let it collect dust.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You know what? That just made me think. There's a recent. I was reading. There was a study that came out about like how black women aren't held as a priority when fucked up shit happens to them. They just shelve them. I'm pretty sure you heard about the story, like the dude who was meeting these women online and he was intentionally affecting them with HIV. Then there was another dude who was like murdering girls and stuff. Then that just confirmed that when they see, black women, they just, toss. So 15 years goes by.
15 years. I'm pretty sure if my name was Becky and I was Caucasian, they would have had
Top
two police
priority.
officers at his bed, or at least had him handcuffed to his bed. But that wasn't the case for me. They thought that he was gonna die. They never followed up, so therefore my case got swept under the rug. And it wasn't until I think me and my sister, we were talking, and I was just like, man, I want to do something big with this whole domestic violence thing. And she sent me this article literally the next day of a House representative for Ohio that was working on a bill. It was House Bill 1, and that bill was for getting stricter laws put in place for perpetrators of domestic violence, but also better protection order. Matter of fact, it was for victims to be able to get a civil protection order if they were not married or if they didn't have children, because legally the term for domestic violence is that act is considered when you're married
right.
or have children.
Yeah.
But what happens to those who ain't married and have children like myself? Like we're just stuck out here.
Just beat your ass and nothing happens.
Exactly. So I linked up with that House representative and was able to work with her on that bill. But then I told her my story, of course. Then she introduced me to another House representative that worked on the criminal side, and especially with the police department on making sure they did what they were supposed to do with the citizens. And so that House representative, she blew the whistle on them, blew their spot up like, hey, I got this case. I read it. What's going on? And so the statute of limitation for assault had already passed. So that's what I was told. And I also was told that nobody worked on the force that worked on my case in 2005.
Damn.
Well, doing some more investigation, the state representative was like, nah. This detective still works for the department, which was the same detective that told me ain't nothing we can do. I'm sorry. So what she did was, even though aggravated assault, that statute of limitation had already passed, they said, I'm sorry. She said, I need you to go back and look in this file because I found kidnapping because he held her against her will when she said she wanted to leave. And so he was charged on kidnapping. And that was a process, the whole court thing. I mean, and I get it when I say survivors, I don't like to say victims. Yeah. But I get it when survivors say it's like being victimized all over again.
Right, because I'm for real, y'all gonna make me go through this shit for real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You facing him. I mean, 15 years later, I'm in court facing somebody who tried to kill me 15 years ago. Like that, how lopsided is the judicial system here? And that's why I do what I do, to shine a light on them. It's not to bash the abuser, because I truly do feel like they need help. They definitely need help, but it's basically to shine a light on this perverted system that is just not right when it comes to domestic violence.
Yeah. So when you said you went to go visit them that first time in a nursing home, that visit was for you, for your healing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Most people probably listen like you were going to go see him to talk to him about what?
No, it was.
It was for you.
It was not. It was not for him at all. It was definitely for me. It was something that I needed to do. it was included in the closure of that part of my life. And the court thing just sealed it all the way up. But me going to see him and that whole thing and forgiving him, that was closure for me, because I don't want to stay stuck in that. Like if I feel like if I would stay stuck in my experience, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I would never have written a book. I would never have been able to be on a Tom Joyner. I would never have been able to be in magazines. I wouldn't be able to probably even have the relationship I have with my family if I would have continued to stay stuck in my experience.
I just want to talk about that courage you have to step out, because I can imagine this happens to a lot of women that we probably don't even get to hear the half of what they're going through in their story. So your story is, I'm pretty sure, just like one of many of what happens to women. What gave you that battery in your pack, the courage? You know what? I'm gonna go out here and speak. I'm gonna go tell my story. I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna start an organization. What gave you that confidence and courage to take that step forward and do it?
Knowing that there's going to be many people after me, and knowing that there's somebody that's going through it right now, they can't somehow break through it. It hasn't been easy, because you do get the backlash of, you knew what you was doing when you got in the relationship. Why didn't you do this, or why didn't you do that? So you get the backlash of that. But I have to bypass all of that chitter chattering and that talking, and really focus on my purpose. And my purpose is basically to go, I feel like Harriet Tubman, how she went back and got the slaves. I go back and get survivors and pull them out of the rut, so they won't stay in that. I know that there's going to be another person that's going to go through the same thing that I went through, and they're going to be too ashamed, they're going to be too embarrassed, they're going to be too afraid, they're going to be too timid, they're going to care too much about the impression that somebody of what they have on themselves, or what somebody else is going to say about them, and they are going to keep their mouths closed. So I feel like God spared my life so that I can be the Harriet Tubman for the movement of domestic violence, and get this thing done, so we can shine the light on it and say, y'all not looking at this right, or you know what, sister, you could come out of that. My whole message at the end of the day is that there is life after trauma.
Yeah, that's dope. Let's take another break. We're going to take one more break. I got some more stuff I want to talk to Diona Clark about. Go ahead, plug the website again, the book, the organization, all that stuff again.
Yes, the book titled Survival is Victory. You can get that off of Amazon, or you can go to my website at www.liveoutloudforyou.org. LIVOUTLOUD, the number 4, the letter U.org. You can catch me on social media, DIONA CLARK. That's Facebook. You can do the Instagram at Diona Live Out Loud, and Twitter as well, Diona Live Out Loud.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if there's any woman who want to know, are you easy to access? They just want to message you, because I'm pretty sure there's probably someone who's listening that's probably I want to say something, but they're afraid, don't know who to reach out to. You seem like you're a fairly accessible person.
Absolutely. No, I'm no high and mighty over here. You
don't judge.
None whatsoever. So a lot of people inbox me and say, this is a situation I got going on, and definitely if I'm not helping them, I'm plugging them into the right source so they can get help.
Yeah. Dope. Let's take a quick break right here on Cloth Talks Podcast. We'll be right back.
Blue dream by the pound, pitching them, curving them batters. Young Cuban on the mound. Rest in peace, Jose Fernandez. Y'all better show me some manners, or y'all gon' go broke like you hammer. I'll come and tax every bag up, you fucking re-up at the palace. I'll be with Sarah, I don't fuck up with mascara. We might just get flying Sarah, and get rich but don't worry. And heck is jumping, no hurry. We don't look forward to marriage, we just more into them carrots. Condos in Paris, one text and all of them problems have vanished. Opposite side of me where you don't wanna be. Come through with some old heads that'll shoot where you gonna be. Trust me, your triple OG is a son of me. Free of charge, it was fun of me. You know if the tribe is involved, I'm putting bodies in morgues. I punch a kangaroo in the face. Don't be fucking with my dogs. Niggas coming for what's in the safe. Niggas leaving with a loss. Fuck niggas gon' stay dry. Take my energy, you tried. Double R, didn't wake up. Swear the same night I cried. Everyone want a piece of the pie. Like a throwback, easy and not. Life is a bitch, then you die. Life is a bitch. I know the tricks of the trade. I got some licks to get paid. Know I'ma flip every day, whether legit or it's not. OT punching the clock, pulling the fresh out the pie. Spend your whole life trying to get by. Life is a bitch and you die.
See him running up the comments, but that don't mean that you prospered. All that money don't mean nada. Fast whips and designer. Yeah, I know you got a lot of, but you lacking all the knowledge. I don't wanna sound conscious, rather jump in the mosh pit. That's how I feel right now. Let's keep it real right now. No, we the lobbyists. Fuck all the nonsense. Get the profit, and for them dollars we gon' off 'em. 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 Nigga, for them dollars we gon' off 'em. For them dollars we gon' off 'em. Know we the lobbyists. Know that we shining. I know that you know that we grinding. And don't care who watching. We don't care who watching. We don't care who watches. Let them bitch niggas watch us. Put them niggas in the coffin. Put them niggas in the coffin. I will motherfucking off.
Been getting it. The planet is mine, yo, I'm wrecking shit. They said that this life is a bitch, I'm demanding it. Fucking, you know I'm not settling. Vagabond, I keep it calm when mama karma coming knocking at the door. You know I'ma be there, prepared for whatever. You reap what you sow. Life is whatever you make it. Taught if you want it, you gotta go take it. I've been so distracted, I'm back in rotation, my back on the wall. So I'm going out blazing whatever it takes. Bang, bang, bang. Get down on the floor. They trying to kill us all. Motherfuck your laws. I said bang, bang, bang. What you shooting for? Why you trying to go and take us out? My life worth as much as yours.
Why they killing off the fucking animals? Why they acting like some fucking cannibals? All my life I've been searching for antidotes. Living up so twisted, trying to feed us lies instead of some niggas in the street got no food to eat, shoes on their feet. Man, put on the beat, I'm about to grab a seat, tune in the frequency. Some folks be blind to see, better just guard your cheek. Ignorant or the deaf, sometimes I feel and know that I'm blessed. Life's a game of chess, better just try your best. Finesse, clear your stress, we all bleed in blood and we made of flesh. Each day's a test, and up and more and less. Open up the lens, love all your friends you keep close. Smoke some weed, cups up, give a toast. Take some more hits than I am ghost. Heading straight towards the Astros. None of this cash rules, hearts and their passion. They be on fashion, souls keep on crashing. Self-destruction, I know it just happens.
I know the tricks of the trade. I got some licks to get paid. Know I'ma flip every day, whether legit or it's not. OZ punching the clock, putting the fresh out the pot. Spend your whole life trying to get by. Life is a bitch and you die.
All right, we're back right here on Cloth Talk Podcast. Diona Clark is still here. We were just talking behind the scenes about your sister brought up a good point about domestic violence happening to certain type of women, right? As far as what it may look like. People who's probably watching on YouTube right now probably are looking at you like, this beautiful woman, she's attractive. Why would a man hit her? Like, she ain't going through nothing. She's probably a strong-minded woman, but people don't know what, back then you were a different type of person, right? From the outside you may look like a certain individual, but on the inside, people can't see that. Yep. And I'm pretty sure people going to want me to play devil's advocate about like, well, you got women who provoke men. They get in their face, they poke them in their fucking head, they mush them, they bust their windows out, fuck their tires up and all this shit, and then they go upside your head and now she want to cry victim. That's true.
It does happen. And for a female that's acting out like that, I say you shouldn't be acting like that towards no man, because this is how I see it. At the end of the day, a man is stronger than a woman. A man is stronger than a woman. And a lot of times we think that, you know what I'm saying, we got into a little piggyback, he's smacking around, we was fighting this and the other, and you don't see that as domestic violence. That's domestic violence. A woman has no right putting her hands on a man at all. Because if you put your hands on a man, you need to, a lot of men were raised, you don't put your hand on a woman, but at the end of the day, you provoking and things like that, no, he gonna tap you. I'm just being real.
I think you're right. Like, a lot of women think because like, oh, he ain't gonna touch me because I'm a woman, he better not dare put a hand, and that they think they give them a license to do whatever to him.
No, not at all. You do have a lot of women that think like that, and my whole philosophy with that is, don't put your hands on a man.
It got to be both ways. Like, if he can't touch you, don't provoke him, don't touch him. I want to talk about, fast forward, from all that stuff, talk about your organization, your nonprofit. So let's talk about that. So what is the mission, the initiative? I mean, it's obvious, but, I'll give you the chance to, explain, your whole mission with that.
Yes. So the The name of my organization is called Live Out Loud.
Live Out Loud.
Enterprises, yes. And it's weird because me and my sister are sitting here, like I bounce a lot of stuff off of her. She has a great way of just thinking out of the box. And so with her, I came up with the title Live Out Loud. And the reason being is because, I feel like a lot of times we live in these boundaries, within these boundaries of other people's expectation of us. And so, and I lived that. I lived that a long time. And so, I thought about, Live Out Loud was a good name because, again, me going through my whole domestic violence experience. So one aspect of it is focusing on domestic violence, bringing education, awareness, and prevention, when it comes to domestic violence. So we're not only just looking at the adults that's involved with domestic violence, but when we look at the prevention side, we look at the girls. And so how are what ways and systems we can put in place for these girls to be able to help prevent it, so that they can be aware of of domestic violence. And when I speak to girls, I always say, when I speak to girls all over the world, I say, you know what, it's not cute for Jaquan to be tapping you on your behind and kind of like tugging at your hair, because you're literally opening up the doorway for a man to put his hands on you incorrectly, and you think that it's okay because it's been happening ever since you were a little girl, and it's not right. It's not right at all. So and giving the girls boundaries that they need to set for the guys that they date, and what domestic violence looks like, things like that, so that this cycle can stop repeating itself.
Yeah, you're right. Like men, like they always testing to see how much they can get away with. Like they'll start like, if I do this, let me see what she said. Oh, she didn't say nothing. If I do this,
right?
What if I do this? Then it just keep getting like you let me get away with a lot of shit.
I'm gonna do it, and it's some of it may be just a guy naturally seeing let me see, like you said, how far I can get with her. Let me see if she that's going to be strong, or let me see if she's one that's going to cower it out, and I can manipulate her.
With your you talk about your sister a lot. It sounds like it's important to have like a support system around you. Like
absolutely.
How important is that? Because I can imagine there's probably a lot of women who feel like they don't have no one around them that they can talk to, no one who probably will understand or probably even give a fuck. Like nobody give a fuck what I'm going through, so why even bother?
I talk about that in my book, a support system, and what a support system should look like. That when a lot of times we look at these women and say, oh, pack your bags and go ahead and get out the relationship, go on over to your family's house, leave that nigga alone, and it's not that easy. What a support system should look like in a situation like that is one that uplifts you, one that encourages you, one that's telling you, you the bomb, you look good, and things of that nature. Not one that's agitating you and telling you that you need to leave, because the thing about it is you're not allowing this person to have a choice. They already don't have a choice in that relationship. They're on autopilot and they have to do what the abuser is telling them to do. But in a supportive environment, we're giving them options, we're giving them choices, and we're also letting them know that that they are great, that they are good, that they're beautiful. And so how I like to compare it is, just think about it. When she goes back to that abusive relationship, she gets told that she's nothing. She gets cussed out at. She's always doing something wrong. But when she comes to the supportive environment, she's doing something right. She's getting these praises and things like that. So she's able to go back to the negative environment, go back and forth between these two environments. And then she starts to feel like, man, I like the way I feel in this positive environment. And then that tends to crack open, this way for her to be able to easily edge her way out of this relationship with the abuser, because of a supportive environment that has been set up for her. And a lot of times that when we look at these domestic violence situations, family tend to turn their back on these survivors, because I'm so tired of you going back and forth with Tyrone. You ain't never gonna leave. But the thing about it is, if you keep this loving, safe environment for her, eventually she will leave, because of this feeling that she's getting of, I'm not feeling so good when I'm with Tyrone. He gets on my nerves, he nags me, this, that, and the other, versus when I'm with my mom, when I'm with my sisters or my girlfriends, they got my back, they telling me this, they telling me that, so you could draw more bees with honey. So it's just keeping that type of environment for that person. It doesn't take that aggressiveness verbally and for a survivor to be able to move themselves out. It just takes a quiet voice. I was telling somebody else that they knew somebody that was trying to get out of a relationship. I said, well, what my suggestion is for you is to be a quiet voice, not a loud voice, because they already getting the loudness in a relationship. So be a quiet voice. Be something opposite.
Yeah. So I just learned something right there, because in our, in the Black community particularly, it's all about strength. It's all about not showing your weakness. It's all about, you need to stand up for yourself. And so what you're saying is like a support system is more so like words of like affirmation.
Absolutely.
Rather than like demands. Like, yeah, I already know. Y'all keep telling me I need to go. I heard that already. Yep. I don't need to come to y'all to hear that. I'm already going to this motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm getting abused here and I'm getting abused there. I might as well stay right here.
Yeah. It just seems like people put themselves in their shoes and just get frustrated. Like, well, you just need to leave then. Just leave. Like, it ain't that.
It's not. It's not. Because there's a lot behind leaving. A person is, maybe 500 times likely to be killed when they leave. Like, that's the most dangerous point in the relationship is when they leave. So you asking this person to leave, you telling them to risk their lives. Like, you don't know what's going on in the background, because he might be saying, if you leave me, not only am I killing you, but I'm gonna kill your mama, I'm gonna kill your father, I'm gonna blow that whole household up. So now she has to decipher between what's better. Is it better for me to stay in this relationship where I'm really protecting my family, or leave where I'm risking my life and my family? So you got to think and bring that think about that before you up and just tell somebody you need to leave. It's a lot that weighs into that.
Yeah. How many times were you told to leave?
I would say, and the thing is, my situation
was
different.
Diona.
I tell you, my situation, I would say, because the thing is, I cut, because I knew my mom opposed the relationship. I cut my mother off because I didn't want to hear what she had to say. I didn't, but then coming all the way back around when after I got shot, I couldn't bathe myself. I was scared to sleep by myself. I was right there by my mama.
Exactly.
I'm like, right back.
Yeah, and they're all the ones that's always going to be there for you. But when you're in it, you're, like you said, you got those blinders on.
Yep.
Here's a random question. Why do nice guys finish last?
Why do nice guys finish last?
Because I imagine like there's guys out there like, I was trying to get at her, or here I am, the nice guy, but you still go over there with Joe Smo, who ain't shit, who gonna treat you like shit. But the nice guys, they have this chip on their shoulder where they get overlooked for the bad guy.
I think a lot of times it's who you're approaching, because if you're approaching a person that's not really looking for a man, then you're not gonna get that. But if you're approaching a woman that's looking for a man, then she already knows how a man should be approaching her, how he's gonna make her feel, his attributes, his conversation, his tone, and things like that. So a person that's not looking for a man and just looking for a lay down, wham bam, thank you ma'am. Now they're not looking for somebody that's going to cater to their needs and cater to their mentally stimulate them. They only looking for somebody that's going to sex them down real good. That's probably going to buy them this and buy them that. But a lot of times a man that's that way, he's going to be that aggressive or things of that nature. I'm speaking for myself. I mean, now you can see, like, I know, that at one point, if a man stepped in me, if he had stepped in me and he was kind, sweet, gentle, and it's like, oh, now let me put this out here. A woman don't want a man that she can run over. Right. She wants a man that's going to put her in her place. I don't care how many women say, he better not say this, he better not say that. You must be looking for a doormat. But a real woman wants to know that a man can put her in her place respectfully. And a man that can do that, that right there, a woman would definitely be drawn to. But also, again, just having the attributes of, treating her like a queen. And the thing about it is, treating a woman like a queen comes with proper care. It comes with proper care.
Break that down.
Proper care meaning like you don't. I'm not saying that you have to be whack or be not be tough because we want the assertiveness.
Like, I still want you to be a man.
Right, exactly. But I want you to be able to cater to me. Meaning, like, if you know and understand my situation, sir, then I need you to cater to that. I don't want you to be a punk, but I want you to cater to that and be tender with me in certain areas of my life. That's what I want, and I want you to make me feel like a queen. Not that I need you to affirm me every day. No, because I can hold mine down on my own and affirm myself. But it's nothing wrong. But not even nothing wrong. I need affirmation from somebody that I'm calling my man and I'm connected to. Like, I need that. A lot of women may not admit that because I think right now how society is set up. I love Megan Stallion. I be listening to some of her. And I'm like, you know what? This sister is cold in some of the stuff that she's saying. But we as women got to be careful not to appear to be mannish. Because if you appear to be mannish, then when a man approaches you, you're blocking that. Two heads can't run the household. That's a demon. Two heads can't. So somebody got to come up under something. And now it should be you as a woman, But yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. Like, cause you're right. Like, there are women who want to play both roles. Like, they want to be the man in a relationship, and it's like they want to control everything. It's like, damn, like you never giving him a chance to like try to. You
can't. Because the thing too, at the end of the day, the woman will run the household. I think the man wants to feel like he's in control. I mean, this might be something behind closed doors that the women need to be talking about. But the man wants to feel like he's in control. But at the end of the day, I feel like the women do run the household. Because she multitasks. He likes to focus on one or two things.
Right. Yeah. Men are really like one dimensional. It's like, well, damn, you see me go, hello. Yeah, that's crazy. So, ready for some listener questions?
Absolutely.
All right. So if you want, for future episodes, if you want to submit questions, hit the email. That's clothtalk5@gmail.com, or you can hit the inbox on Instagram, Facebook, and all that good stuff. All right. So first one they got for you, Diona. Okay. Did you meet him on Tinder?
No, I did not meet him. I'm not against social media, linking up on social media or anything like that. I'm not. But at that time, I don't even think social media was strong like that.
This is 2005.
Yeah, this was 05.
Yeah, Tinder wasn't around.
So no, Tinder wasn't around. A lot of social media dating sites weren't around. So no, I didn't meet him through that. I met him through my sister. So one of my sisters, he's related to her husband.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
damn.
Yeah.
I wonder how. Well, damn, that's wow.
Yeah, that
changes things.
That changed. That's a whole game changer right there.
Yeah.
A whole game changer. So
did she ever feel like it was our fault for introducing you to him?
She's never. Well, I take that back. We did have that conversation, and she did feel like she had some type of involvement. But what I had to explain to her was I was old enough to make my own choices and decisions, and it had nothing to do with her. Because when I saw him, I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Yeah. Exactly.
Right, what it do, Playboy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like what you saw.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So let's see. We got another one. What was your... this is a good question. What was the first song you played after you survived?
Oh, wow. The first song I played after I survived, which still to this day reminds me of my incident, is Young Jeezy and Akon.
Soul Survivor?
Yep, that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That was the first song.
A very fitting song to play.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Somebody being silly. Did you shoot him back?
No, I did not shoot him back. I didn't, but I know a couple of people wanted to. Woo. I know a couple of people that wanted to shoot him.
Family was ready to ride.
Ready. Ain't nothing like having down family.
All right, messing with my Diona.
That's right.
You mess with the wrong one. So you did not shoot him back. What circumstances in your relationship caused him to do harm to you? I mean, you kind of explained it, but you can.
Yeah, me making this decision to leave him, and like I said it before, we're talking about a man that was used to him dumping the women and telling the women, our time is up, had a good time, and so when the roles were reversed, that was something that it was not acceptable to him.
Yeah. What else they got for you? Did you forgive him? We already kind of answered that,
Yes,
but yeah,
I did.
You did.
I forgave him. I did. I had to.
To piggyback on that, what did he have to say? Like in that courtroom, was words exchanged, or just was it the lawyers just handling everything? Y'all was just there, or did y'all like have an interaction? Like, did he ever say?
We didn't. We didn't have any interaction. He apologized. However, the statements that his lawyer was making, it was like a lie being told, big lie, and the judge saw right through it. You know, it was not me, not him who shot me, but I shot him. And it was because he wouldn't leave his wife was the reason why I shot him. But the judge said this is a lie. Like the way, I mean, the thing about it is the detectives were there. They saw, you know, they know enough to know when a person shoots themselves and a person gets shot. You know, and so they came to the hospital and they tested my hand for gunpowder, you know, to see if, you know, I was the one who shot the gun, and there's nothing, you know. So
he really went through all that.
Yeah, yep.
What? You know what? The whole time he's married, where was his wife through all this? Did you ever meet her? Did you know her?
I never met her. I didn't know her. I didn't see her or
Still to
anything
this day?
like that.
Did you ever?
No, I do. I know
y'all know each other.
No,
Okay.
we don't know each other. Well, we know
you
each
know
other
who
through
she
this,
is. Right.
But I'm aware who she is, and vice versa.
Wow. Do we ever get her side of the story? Did she ever speak out about anything, or is she just pretty much?
I don't know.
She was in the hospital, and she left a note on her door.
Oh.
Yeah.
A card, a get
Really?
well soon card.
Yeah.
On her door, while days after she was shot, left a get well soon card on her door and said that he was fighting demons within himself that had nothing to do with their relationship, but had to do with the fact of their separation and divorce from his marriage. So she was apologizing to her, to Diona, for taking a bullet that was possibly meant for her because he was so corrupted in his mind because his marriage was failing.
Right.
That he took that out on her. And she left her phone number and something like that. And I just called her and let her know, like, don't ever try to reach out to her again. You've been a toxic energy since this whole situation was going on. And they were separated. So let's make that clear to everybody.
Yeah.
Her and this man were separated.
Damn.
And she was constantly, when she figured out he had moved on, she became a negative entity in their relationship.
Wow.
So
damn.
The letter, it was more so self-absorbed. It wasn't an apology to what happened to her. So I called and cussed her out.
The nerve of you.
I'm like, if you want to end up in this hospital, we can make it happen. You feel so bad, you can catch a bullet.
We can expedite that for you. Wow. What did you think of that when she did that? He was like, what?
I was thrown off. Like who? Right. I didn't. Right.
You didn't tell it?
No. They told me like way after.
You know that lady came up here.
Yeah. Like that was weird. You know.
Damn.
Like I guess if it was me, I mean, my thing is I would be literally apologetic about the situation and what happened.
Let's say she came to you today, wanted to have a sit down dinner with you. Would you do it?
Probably so.
You would?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Two more for you. What was the relationship really like before he shot you? And be honest about his behavior. What was his behavior like prior?
Right, so it was good in the beginning. You know, like I told him, the relationship was good. You know, we were going out to eat, we were kicking it.
Yeah.
You know, things were good. But then, even still in the things were good phase, there were still these little small incidents that were red flags. And like I said before, you know, I just chose to put my blinders on and continue in the relationship again until that one time I came into the house and the house was completely dark. To me, I was like, this is mental.
Yeah.
You know, this is real mental for you to be sitting in a dark home waiting for me to come back home.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I kind of felt a little fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward. So what is life like for Diona today? You know, you got your organization, you're out here, you know, repping, you know, this domestic violence thing, you're advocating, you become a face. for it. You know, you make yourself available for people who are, you know, experienced it or going through it. So what is life like for you today?
So life is real good. Life is grand, you know, and just to be able to experience life after trauma. I mean, it's no better feeling. What my organization does is every October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we host an adult event. And so in that event, we've had House representatives come speak. We've had judges that deal with domestic violence speak. We've had, who do we have this year? Jesus, I don't forgot my keynote speaker that was this past year. Who was it? Jesus. But so we actually, we flipped it this year. We had domestic violence from a male's perspective. So it was all male panel. It was a male keynote speaker. We did a male honoree because, again, domestic violence just doesn't happen to women, but it happens to men. And two, we also set our panel up to be able to have questions pertaining to why do men do what they do, because in domestic violence, men are mainly the perpetrators. So that event was off the hook.
I can imagine.
That was crazy. It was crazy. Just getting an understanding and insight on why men do what they do. And the crazy thing about it, it came down to how we as women see ourselves. And if we raised our standards, then we would be able to stop them at the door and send them on their way. It came down to that.
Wow.
But we do that annually, and then also we host a girls event annually. And with the girls, it's a little different. So it's catered around things that would lead up to domestic violence. So we talk about self-esteem one year, we talk about mental health one year, and things like that, because we're thinking about prevention when it comes to them. I've been able to be on the Tom Joyner Morning Show to talk about it. Yeah, that's major. I was on Creflo Dollar, and then I got a couple of gigs up in LA. I'm flying out too. So
this took you, you know, to. Did you imagine, you know, such a unfortunate event that would happen in life would take you to these places?
No, all I said was I want to help. That night I was talking to my sister. I was just like, you know, I just want to help. That's all I want to do. And, you know, now me being a willing vessel has taken me to this place, but I always give honor to God. I don't take credit for anything because I'm very quiet and I'm a shy person. So I would rather be in the corner reading a book and to myself. But this has caused me to be more outspoken and be more out in the forefront. And so I'm just thankful to be able to, you know, be the voice to speak up and speak out against domestic violence. My book, we've even been to Essence Festival. And so hopefully next year we can actually be a speaker. Yeah.
How long did it take to write the book?
Oh, wow. A long time, because again, I was kind of writing in a place of not being healed. So I would write and had to put the pen down because it was just too much for me.
Reliving that.
Yep. So it took about, I want to say maybe like 5 years.
Piece by piece. Yep. Wow. When people read the book, are they going to cry? Can they expect to cry?
It's emotional. I mean, I think it's emotional. A lot of people, they do say, you know, this is an amazing book. Some people say, you know, they did cry at the part of, you know, me being shot. I wrote this book with the survivor in mind. Even though it does talk about my story, when I think about victory, I tend to think about, you know, we as people going through trauma, whether it's been in the past or like currently going through trauma, and we're able to put on our pants one leg at a time and get up and go out into that world. And when we cross the threshold from our home to the cement of our walkway, going out there and being able to face the world, you know, in midst of adversity, being able to still stand. To me, that's victory. And that's what I want people to know. You know, victory isn't just I prayed and my boss moved to a new department because they was getting on my nerves, you know, but victory is just those little small steps that we take every day and being able to be strong when we are going through hell. It can be a loss of a loved one. It can be, you know, financial issues, a painful divorce, or anything like that. Yep.
Yeah, so the guys who are watching and listening that are curious, what is Diona's love life like today? Do anybody have a chance? Can they slide in the DMs? I know, because I know they gonna come. The boys who watch it, listening.
So look at my
Like, ooh.
Wait a minute, I forgot. You know what? I'm so used to this being like, on the radio or something like that.
Oh no, we talk about it all here.
Oh my God. So people can really see me. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
right there. Go ahead, look into that camera.
Hi everybody. Hi.
Yeah, they can see what you look like and
Hi.
everything.
Okay.
Trust the comments are coming.
Are they? Oh my God. Okay. Now I'm nervous. At first it was flowing and everything. So
Got put on the spot.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
The boys are watching.
My love life, it's going. It's been a journey.
Okay. They want to answer. Can they slide it? So the door is open. She's not on the market. So wait, I'm confused. Is it a complicated situation?
No.
What's going on? Don't get all scared now.
You done put me on the spot. I'm probably red as a chair right now. Oh my God,
He's probably watching, listening. So you ain't gonna claim me. That's what we doing. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
I was gonna take you out tonight.
Oh, look at you. Oh
Get
my
his
God.
feelings a little bit.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, but yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. What's the next question?
So I'm gonna talk to her sister. So, cause her sister is a G about this. So she's not on the market, but she's available.
I'm not going to say that she's available. I'm not going to say that she's in a relationship. I say we shall see.
We shall see.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad for the dude, man.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him right now.
No, don't.
Poor
feel
guy.
bad. He's a very confident man.
He's
Okay.
He is.
He's a very confident man. I think that.
It sounds like it's early.
No.
It's not early.
What is it
It's
like when you have this male? He's a very assured himself man, and when Deonna's off the market, we gonna know Deonna's off the market.
right.
Aha.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to you, my guy. Sorry for all the men who are watching and listening.
No DM hopping.
No, don't slide in the DMs. They probably ain't gonna listen to it. They ain't gonna give a fuck. They sliding in here. Men don't give a shit. So any last words you want to leave the listeners? Any words of encouragement? Anything you want to tell people who, might going through this that may need to hear words of encouragement or anything like that? Anything you want to leave the listeners with?
I always tell women, and again, I always say, my disclaimer is I say women because majority of survivors are women,
Sure.
but it can pertain to men. But you're not alone in the fight with domestic violence. Don't think that you cannot talk to anyone. I always keep my doors open when it comes to domestic violence.
Yeah.
But I'm not just
Put the emphasis on that one. Don't come in my DM with that BS.
But yeah, I always
take
keep
you
my
out?
doors open. Look at y'all. Y'all play too much. Y'all play too much. But yeah, you're not going through it alone. There's somebody is always, there's it's happening so much that someone's experiencing it as well. But my thing is always talk. Like don't be, because I was fearful and I'm afraid and embarrassed, but don't let that paralyze you and not say something to someone. Find somebody that you can confide in, that you know that your business is not going to end up on the news, but find someone that you can confide in and talk with them about what you're going through, because I believe that it will be that person that will be able to get you the help. If they know how to be a good support, they will be able to get you the help that you need. And just for anybody that has experienced trauma, like I've been saying this whole time, is that it's life after trauma. Don't stay stuck in the experience that you've been through, because it literally prohibits you from, as Little Duval said, living your best life. Yeah. And we don't want that. Because I feel like there's something that you have, like God designed you with some special sauce, and that special sauce needs to be spreaded throughout the whole world. So if you're not spreading your sauce, then we can't get to where we need to be. So somebody's waiting on you to do or get in position, and in the position that you need to be, so that they can get to where they need to be.
Yeah, living out loud.
That's right, baby.
Ooh-wee, I love it. Make sure y'all grab the book, visit the website, tell them where they can contact you and all that good stuff. Again, the organization, the website, the book, all that good stuff.
So my website is www.liveoutloudforyou.org, and again, I'll spell it LIVOUTLOUD, the number 4, the letter U.org. And then I'm on Facebook, Diona, Diona, middle initial L, last name Clark without the E at the end. And then I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Diona Live Out Loud.
Dope. Well, this has been another episode of Cloth Talk Podcast. I want to thank you, Diona, for coming on. This is dope. I'm glad we got a chance to do this.
Yes.
Well, maybe we'll have a part 2.
Yeah.
We'll bring you back. Go ahead, subscribe, rate, leave a comment, share the episode. Make sure you go follow and connect with Diona Clark. She's not a shy person. She likes to engage with you.
Yeah, I do.
Business matters only, fellas.
They're not going to listen.
They don't give a
not.
shit. They look like they're salivating. Yeah, DMs right now. Subscribe. We'll see you next time on another episode of Cloth Talk Podcast. Goodbye.